how South African government always encourages more people to take up entrepreneurship as a means of curtailing rising unemployment and creating new opportunities. Now that call has been taken up by many, but however, the growing population of entrepreneurs tend to complain about red tape, complexities, and getting funds to keep their businesses afloat. It's a big problem. Now to take this conversation forward as Global Entrepreneurship Week is upon us, I'm joined in the studio by award-winning entrepreneur Hezron Louw and also Sasfin CEO Michael Sassoon, who has a banking product which is designed to assist entrepreneurs to keep the money moving and keep the business going. So Hezron, so as one thing, I just want to talk to both of you about this. I mean, every politician, every conference I've been to, they say, oh, small businesses, entrepreneurs, we need people to do their own things to create growth and jobs. But what is the reality?
The reality is that we get sold dreams. So upfront, it's start entrepreneurship, quit your job, start a small business, start a business for subsistence reasons. But at the end of the day, try get a loan from a bank. It's impossible. Try get government funding, wait in a long queue. It's just impossible starting or even growing a business the way things are going.
And just a little bit of background on you before we go to Michael is entrepreneurship. What's your story?
My story is I started off in a garage. Myself and my business partner, we now own Africa's largest food truck. We employ 28 people. In peak season, we employ 50 people. Our company is called Something Fresh.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's it. And how tough was it for you starting out?
It was dismal. For the first 2 years, our business literally failed, and we just didn't give up. We changed markets, and we managed to sort of come back.
Well, there you are. I mean, dismal, that's a word that a lot of entrepreneurs come up with. Now, Michael, you've got a bigger view of the industry, the finance industry. How tough is it out there for entrepreneurs starting out?
I think it is very tough. First of all, thanks for having me on your show. You know, Hezron and I were chatting. It's amazing to hear stories of entrepreneurship. And I think that much better to hear that story than to be sold the dream, because the reality of most successful entrepreneurs is they had to persevere, they had to demonstrate grit, they had to bootstrap, they had to find ways. And there are so many wonderful, successful entrepreneurial stories that we associated with and in the country. And we often hear about the dismal state of entrepreneurship, and it is with our high levels of unemployment and the challenges for small business in South Africa. That's of a huge concern to us as a bank that's so committed and passionate about helping entrepreneurs thrive. But there are some lights, you know, there are some lights in every industry, shining lights of very successful entrepreneurial stories, but each and every one of those, I would venture to say, if you hear their stories, they will tell you how challenging it was, how difficult it was in the beginning, but they persevered, they showed grit, and they drove their businesses forward.
I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I've interviewed an entrepreneur on this very channel once, and he told me when he started his IT business, he was so poor, he couldn't afford much food, so he decided to eat carrots. And he ate carrots every day for months and months, and he started turning orange. And the doctor said, like, listen, I know carrots are good for you, but perhaps you should hold back a bit. And luckily his business kicked in. But I mean, what other stories have you got? I mean, you mix with entrepreneurs on the ground about these kind of hardships and hard beginnings.
The thing is, there are a lot of positive stories, as you say, but it's also quite hard. It takes a toll in terms of your family, because you never have money. You're basically falling apart. You're a burden. You know, there's a lot of that. A lot of entrepreneurs go into depression because they're failing. Some people come out of successful jobs and then they find themselves in a situation where they can't make their businesses work, or they don't know how to make their businesses work, and they go into depression. People commit suicide even. That's how bad it gets being an entrepreneur at times.
And one of the problems is with funds. I mean, Michael, I mean, you in the finance industry, a lot of entrepreneurs tell me that they struggle, they go there, they go to 15 people, each one say, no, you've got no collateral, you're too much of a risk. And then they struggle on somehow. And then when they make it, a lot of the finance institutions come and say, hey, listen, would you like to borrow a couple of million?
Yeah, I think that the unfortunate state of lending in South Africa to entrepreneurs hasn't been great. So I think what's happened is, firstly, there's been a lot of risk. And we were just chatting to someone who, outside, one of your previous panelists, who at one point in his life did invest in venture capital, and he said that 90% went bad. And that you often hear stories of that. You often hear people who kind of commit capital, whether it's debt or equity, into the space, and they lose money. So on the one hand, how do we create a situation whereby funders can in a sustainable and in a cautious manner, extend capital or extend credit, invest in these businesses, and because if you don't do that in a way that's going to be sound and that can be leveraged, you're going to have a bigger problem. But at the same time, making it easier for entrepreneurs who display all the right attributes, who have the right integrity, who are very committed, have the right idea and the right perseverance to access critical funding. That's something which we spend a lot of time thinking about. A lot of the clients we lend to are clients who wouldn't easily access loans from big banks because typically they've engaged with the bigger banks before. And we think that there's still a lot more that we can do, especially with the use of technology. I think that that opens up a whole lot more opportunities in assessing credit and helping businesses access funding.
Because that's the point. I mean, do you think that entrepreneurs from your sort of ground level are harnessing this kind of technology and stuff to make things easier for them? Because it's still a big ask. I mean, the number of people who've told me that, you know, if they want to apply for any form of finance, the people have to go through all their books and there's all this red tape before they even start.
I think it comes down to education. Education is very important. Someone who starts a small business is maybe an electrician, or I'm into food. I can fry chicken like you can't believe, but I'm no good at books. You know, it's not my forte. And preparing a business for banking, and, you know, having access to apps that help us and so forth. I'm thinking about frying chicken 90% of the time. I'm not thinking about getting my books in order. You know, it's very hard for us to then sort of get the capital because we're thinking about the everyday issues instead of the big picture of getting us ready for finance.
But isn't that a problem sometimes with entrepreneurs though, Michael? You found that sometimes people say, obviously, as you say, frying chicken and doing the business, that's your passion, that's what you want to do. But sometimes passion, people are very good at making things, but it doesn't translate to making money.
So I think it can translate to making money, but there's so many other things an entrepreneur has to do. His books have to be in good order. He's got to think about labor-related issues, payroll. He needs to think about how he's going to invoice clients. Okay, there's a food truck, you might not be invoicing your clients, but there's a whole host of activities that an entrepreneur has to do. And to do that well, they end up employing a bookkeeper, an accountant, or someone else. Often that's a struggle. They can't afford a decent person at that level. Then they end up giving equity away for whatever reason it might be. So what we've done is we launched a platform in March this year called Beyond. And Beyond it's basically completely designed for an entrepreneur, where an entrepreneur can integrate their banking into their payroll, their accounting, and integrates into Xero. We're the only bank in South Africa which has a direct feed into Xero, which is the fastest growing cloud-based accounting software for SMEs in the world, with over 1 million SME customers globally. And we offer a whole host of other offerings within the banking platform at a very low cost to take away a lot of the pressure for the entrepreneur to do those things and the cost of doing those things. And then that also gives us information which we can then start assessing in a way which we can hopefully thereafter extend credit to.
Well, hopefully, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. In Entrepreneur Week, there's a lot more entrepreneurs been born in this country than previous weeks. May I say thank you very much to Sasfin CEO Michael Sassoon and also Hezron Louw, entrepreneur. So thank you very much for your time.